Today we're going to go over my 5 favorite Hot Ones episodes, but first, let's go for a run. .36 miles, 8 minutes, 28 seconds per mile, 140 beats per minute, taking it nice and easy out there for the run. Ended up being out there a little bit longer than I had planned, an hour and 10 minutes, 47 seconds total. I've been trying to keep my runs to 1 hour or less these days, but I wanted to pick a little bit of a different route, show you guys a couple of different things than what I've been showing every day. So I went a little bit out of my way and ended up going over on my time just a little bit, but I think it worked out okay. Wasn't out there too long and had a great run this morning. Legs were feeling a little bit stiff from the speedier work like the day before. So it was good to kind of like get everything moving, get everything kind of turned over, get the blood flowing and blood circulating. So I think overall a good run to have for the day. Now today what I want to talk about is my top 5 favorite Hot Ones episodes. If you guys haven't seen the show for some reason by this point, it's a YouTube interview show where they interview celebrities. They eat hot wings, a varying level of increasingly spicy hot sauces applied to them. And if you're vegetarian, they'll have like either like fake chicken options or like a fried cauliflower option. So like they accommodate all people. And so it's been really funny to watch both like the types of wings that people eat, whether they're vegetarian or not, and then also the drinks that they usually request to have alongside, because as things get spicy, some people want water, some people don't want water. Some people have requested beer, other people request like milk or sometimes like oat milk or soy milk or lots of different things. So that's like an interesting like peel back look at some of the celebrities. But because of like the format of the interview show, it gets very disarming because of the distraction of the spiciness of the wings. And so you get some really good insights into some of these celebrities. Plus the interviewer is fantastic at his job too as well. And so that also makes for a really good conversation. And so I've just been loving the show for I guess years now, and I thought I'd share some of my favorite episodes. I won't put them in necessarily any like rank order, but I will go over like 5 that I think are really interesting if you've never seen like the show at all, that I think could be really interesting to watch. So I think the first one that I'll start out with is Shia LaBoef. And it's a choice that I made because it's emblematic of what this interview show format does. Is it takes people that I might either like and makes me like them less by the end of the show because you're getting like a different look at them, or it takes people that I normally don't like and makes me think this person maybe is a bit understood, or I can see why the guy has that kind of reputation, is getting that, but he's not as terrible as I thought, or there's more nuance to him or more dimension to that person than I originally perhaps gave him credit for. And Shia LaBeouf is definitely like that. it's just a fascinating conversation to listen to have him sit down and like you see a transition of him treating it as like this is a weird novelty interview and okay, fine, I'll play along because I got like stuff I got to promote, to him actually like, taking it as like a very interesting conversation and like opening up a little bit. So either that or he's doing a really good job acting. Could be either one. The next person that I'll talk about that is interesting, one of my favorite Hot Ones episodes is Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I don't watch wrestling. And there was a brief period of time after college where a lot of the guys that I was hanging out with in St. Louis when I was living there, they all watched wrestling together, like every Monday night. Like they got together, they had dinner, and they watched wrestling. And so like I went too. So for a short while I was watching on a weekly basis, but more because after a while I moved in with those guys, so like it was happening at the house where I lived, but it was something that I just, it was a chance to hang out with my friends, and so I watched it for a little while. But and this was back when Stone Cold Steve Austin still was wrestling. And normally I wouldn't think like to sit down to watch an interview with Stone Cold, but this interview was really fascinating to see his take on wrestling and his line of work, his approach to it. So very insightful. And the guy is, it's not that I didn't think he worked hard, but he takes the work very seriously and takes such pride in his work. And it was really interesting to see that and his approach to the work that he was doing. Very just fascinating. So like a really different look behind the scenes at someone who had lived such a larger than life character during that part of his professional career. So a very fun episode to watch. The next one that I'll put on this list is maybe not one of like the best, most entertaining Hot Ones episodes, but if you've seen any of my other top 5 lists, there's always like sentimental value picks. And this one I put high on the list because this was the first one where I thought like this show's really got something here. And that was an interview with Post Malone. And Post Malone is someone that I didn't really care about before watching this interview. But then since watching the video, I was like, oh, this is an interesting person there. There's someone that's not just like a face for like the pop machine, like of the music industry. There's actually a personality there. Who knows about how he's changed since this interview, because it's been years, I think, at this point. But at the time, you were getting a really interesting look into someone who had a very like almost innocent view of the world, that was looking at it with like without like the filter or like the callous of like the real world experience. It's almost like a sheltered human being suddenly like being thrust into the modern era and like seeing what that response would be is kind of like the feeling you get when you watch this Post Malone interview. So it's really fun to watch and just interesting to see like the guy behind all the tattoos and all the hair. How many have I done so far? So my next 2 are probably my 2 favorite interviews that I've seen. And I think I've talked about at least one of these before. But my number 4 is one of my favorite ones, is Logic. So when Hot Ones had Logic on the show, I thought that was absolutely fascinating. I was just starting to listen to Logic's music at the time when the interview hit. And I just thought that like Logic was like making good music, but also seemed like a regular person, like someone that like I would know. And it made him seem very approachable. And yet you got to see a lot of different layers and nuance to him as a person, rather than, again, as just like a rapper or like a pop star that you see like on YouTube. So it was really interesting to see that interview. That's one that I think I need to watch again because I need to revisit it. But it was just fascinating to see like his take on things. It's just a different insight coming from a different place. It's always like the beautiful part about like interview shows is the perspectives that you get to see. So I really enjoyed that one. And my absolute favorite Hot Ones episode, this one's clear, like sits way above all the rest of them, is the interview with Johnny Knoxville. And so that's a really fascinating one to me because I wasn't a huge Jackass fan or any of it, like his work. I always thought it was like too much. It always went like that one step too far. But seeing Johnny Knoxville now as like an older man, I mean, I guess he was always about my age, maybe a little bit older than me, but now seeing him, like having him, not seeing him in like the public eye for a long time and suddenly seeing him again in this interview was like really, it's like he aged a lot, or like his actual age became real to me. And so it was like me looking at someone like my age, like a contemporary, looking back at like the crazy, stupid stuff we all used to do. And there was like a very sweet melancholy to the entire interview. Interspersed with some really hilarious moments as well. But that one always resonates to me as probably the best interview that Sean Evans ever did, just because it brought out so much thoughtfulness to Johnny Knoxville's otherwise like it's easy to write it off as like, you know, like MTV like Jackass comedy, but there's much more introspection to his life. I don't know if he'll always live that way or if that's something that's come to him with age, but it's something that I just thought was really remarkable and came totally as a surprise. I just watched it because I watch all of them, but like this one, when it hit, I was just like, this is a really intense interview. This is amazing. And so I really enjoyed that one. That is my number one. And then the bonus that I always like to give bonuses for any of my top 5 lists that I'll give 2 bonuses, but the first bonus that comes to mind is the Steve-O interview. So Steve-O and Johnny Knoxville worked together for forever, and to watch Steve-O's interview, I actually think I watched his first because his came out earlier, and then watched the Johnny Knoxville one, like watching those like 2 like in close succession. I don't think you necessarily need to watch one before the other, but if you watch those 2 in close succession, it gives like a much more full like view of to like what these like kind of like what everyone thought was underachieving degenerates kind of like were as a group of people who just really genuinely cared about each other. So it was just really weird words and descriptions to give to these guys that I normally wouldn't give to those like type of guys. So that's my one bonus. The other bonus that I'll give, just because there were so many that were in the potential 5 slot, is Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is a Hollywood super actor at this point. He's in just about everything. He's even in Marvel comics, which I think is super strange to me because that's the guy that I remember as being the dude from the movie Clueless. So that was like my first experience of Paul Rudd in like movies. And so to see him have gone from that to so many other movies that I've liked, including the Ant-Man movies, which I also really like as well. It's just a weird, surreal kind of career path that he's had. Plus the fact that I don't think he's on social media at all. So like whenever there's people like that aren't on social media that get interviewed, especially in a longer form interview like this, even if it is a sort of a wacky interview format, it's still a long form interview. I always think you get really interesting insights into people that way. So those are my 5 plus 2 bonus favorite episodes of Hot Ones. Hopefully, if you haven't seen all of those, go check them out. Or you could just get lost down a rabbit hole of different celebrities on Hot Ones because they've interviewed pretty much everybody at this point, or they're going to interview everybody. It's just so much fun to watch that show. And I'm obviously very much a huge fan. So let me know who your favorite Hot Ones interviewer is in the comments down below. I'd love to see that. I've probably seen it already, but it's always good to kind of revisit these every once in a while. So like I wouldn't normally think that like an interview show would have like a lot of rewatch ability, but a lot of these I'm finding as I was putting this list together, I found myself like getting sucked into interviews again and just enjoying them again for a second time. So it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys have some fun with it too, especially now if you're locked in or can't get out as much as you might otherwise get out. Hopefully this will help you pass some of the time. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Oh, by the way, yes, we're at that point in the quarantine where the girls have found that I can also have fingernail polish on. I don't have to show up for work anywhere, so I figure I let them do it. But thanks so much for making it to the end of the video, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?